Oh. Hi. I'm over here now. New bookshelf. So I bet you thought I'd forgotten all about favorite books reviews. Well, nope. Here's another one. Now, since I last did one of these book reviews, I've gained about 200 or so new subscribers, so let me fill you in real quick. This is a series of reviews where I basically take any book that I have ever at any time in my life considered to be a favorite and review it to see if it is still a favorite. I talk about the things that make it a favorite, or if it's not a favorite anymore, the things that at one time made it a favorite and no longer do make it a favorite. Simple? This will more than likely be my last favorite books review of 2010. Yes, I'm going to be entering into the third year of this series. And for those of you wondering, I recently counted, there are in total about 76 books on the list currently. And this is the 48th, Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. Now, some of you may have heard of this book, or if nothing else, heard of the movie that was based on it. Very, very loosely based on it. This is a retelling of the fairy tale Cinderella. Specifically Charles Perrault's version of Cinderella. And if you know anything about me, then you know that I cannot stand most of the fairy tales of Charles Perrault. Because Charles Perrault was a huge sexist, he basically believed that there were 4 types of women in the world. The meek, passive, and submissive Cinderellas, the evil, wicked, overbearing stepmothers, the stupid, silly, and ugly stepsisters, and the wise, old, crone-like fairy godmothers. Unfortunately, Charles Perrault's version of Cinderella is also the most popular, inspiring both the Disney film and the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. But this is actually a very good retelling of the story simply because they find logical explanations for everything. Here are 3 things that make this book a favorite. First is the character of Ella, who is not in the least bit meek or submissive. If she is even a little bit meek or submissive, it's because she has to be. This is the first question that's answered about the Perrault Cinderella. Why does Cinderella not run away? Why does she do everything that her stepfamily tells her to do? The answer? She has to, because as a baby she was given a magical gift from a misguided fairy named Lucinda. This was the gift of obedience, and it basically means that Ella has to do anything that anyone orders her to do, no matter what. And yet, quite apart from this gift making Ella obedient, it actually makes her almost the opposite. Her personality becomes very obstinate because she doesn't like to be forced to do things. And so she will either delay having to do the order as long as possible, or she will find some way to somehow get around doing the order, or do the order in a way that suits her. So like if she's ordered to eat her peas, she'll eat maybe 2 of them and she's technically fulfilled the order even though it's not what the person ordering her wanted her to do. And this starts off as very childish rebellion, but we watch it grow throughout the story to the strength that she needs to, spoiler alert, eventually break the curse. The second reason is the relationship between Ella and Prince Charmant. See what they did there with Charmant? It's because unlike most fairy tales, this story actually, gasp, develops the relationship. And the focus of the relationship, at least for the first half of the novel, is not so much on romance, but more on friendship. These 2 people form a very close friendship, and that friendship develops throughout the novel and eventually becomes feelings of love and romance. And yeah, we do get the lovey-dovey, I love you, romance stuff at the end, but I mean, it is Cinderella, and the point is that it develops at that point. It doesn't just instantly happen. None of this love at first sight crap. And also there's a point in the novel where Ella and Charmant are just exchanging letters back and forth. Which is something that I think anybody who's ever been in a long-distance relationship or even a long-distance friendship can relate to. Being able to only communicate with words on a page. And the last thing that makes this a favorite is the same thing that makes pretty much all of my fairy tale adaptation novels a favorite, and it's the way that they explain everything. Certain things in fairy tales are just unexplainable. That's the nature of fairy tales. But adaptations of fairy tales find logical explanations for all of these things and try to ground them in reality somehow. So we've got the explanation for Ella's submissiveness, we've got the explanation for why her stepmother hates her so much, we've got the explanation for why her father does absolutely nothing to help her. It's because he's a douchebag, basically. And most of these explanations are pretty creative. Some of them are not, but they're at least adequate. So I still really like this novel. It's a very easy read, it's a very simple read, there's nothing overly complicated or complex about it. But as far as children's books go, it's a very, very strong one. It has some great characters, great story, and some great messages. Obviously there's the message about being independent and being yourself and not letting other people get you down and all that sort of thing. But there's also messages of things not being as they seem, especially in the character of Lucinda, the fairy who gives all of these wonderful gifts not realizing that they're really curses. Now, I will admit that there are some minor flaws in this book, and I will admit that I didn't enjoy it quite as much on the reread as I did the first time around. But I do still consider it a favorite. If nothing else, it's a fun, fast read for anyone looking for something kind of simple and feel-good. So Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine is still on the favorites list. And continuing with the trend of reviewing my favorite fairy tale adaptations, the next book on the favorites list and the first book for 2011 will be East by Edith Pittau. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I sometimes think that it's est. See you next time! Oh, I'm gonna have to find something better than kneeling on the ground.